Hello, it's wonderful to be with you. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for spending some of your very valuable time with me. We're heading into another school year, and this would be my 48th year of heading back to school. I'm 68 years old, and this is all I've ever done. And you could argue that this is the most challenging year heading back we've ever had. The coronavirus, now 5 months into our mutual experience, challenges not only each one of us as educators, challenges our nation, and absolutely challenges our world. And I need to keep remembering we're part of a great and beautiful world, not only a great and beautiful country, because the world view is significant now. And we need to learn from each other, not only within our nation, but across this world. Our children have faced so much stress. All the stress that you and I have faced as adults, our children also have faced that stress. And as I thought about speaking with you today, I thought about a piece of writing that I've loved for a long, long time. I think I encountered it back in the late 80s or early 90s. I had a chance to sit on a panel with the author. Her name is Ina Hughes. It's a long, long time ago. And then I found this piece of writing, this prayer, this pledge, this commitment to children. I found it in the last few pages of a book written by Marion Wright Edelman, the president and founder of the Children's Defense Fund. The title of that book is The Measure of Our Success, a letter to my children and yours. And Marion, a black woman, was writing to, I believe, her youngest son as he graduated from Yale, writing how important it was for not only him, but you and I, and every one of us to be responsible. So I'm going to read this exactly the way Ina Hughes wrote it. And again, it's a prayer. And I know that every day I need to do that. As I speak with you now, I'm just coming out of my prayer and meditation time because I need to start my day in that reflection. Ina Hughes says, "We pray for children who sneak popsicles before supper, who erase holes in their math workbooks, who can never find their shoes. And we pray for those who stare at photographers from behind barbed wire, who can't run down the street in a new pair of sneakers, who've never counted potatoes, who were born in places that you and I wouldn't be caught dead in, who've never gone to the circus, who live in an X-rated world. And we pray for those who bring us sticky kisses and fistfuls of dandelions, who hug us in a hurry and forget their lunch money. We pray for those who never get dessert, who have no safe blanket to drag behind them, who've watched their parents watch them die, who don't find any bread to steal, who don't have any rooms to clean up, whose pictures aren't resting on anyone's dresser, whose monsters are real. And we pray for children who spend all their allowance before Tuesday, who throw tantrums in the grocery store and pick at their food, who don't like ghost stories, who shove their dirty clothes under the bed and never rinse out the bathtub, who don't want to be kissed in front of the carpool, who squirm in church and temple and scream in the telephone, whose tears we sometimes laugh at, and whose smiles can make us cry. We pray for those whose nightmares come in the daytime, who will eat anything, who've never seen a dentist, who aren't spoiled by anyone, who go to bed hungry and cry themselves to sleep, who live and move but have no being. We pray for children who want to be carried, for those who must be carried, for those we never give up on, and for those who won't get a second chance, for those we smother, and for those who will grab the hand of anybody kind enough to offer it. Ina Hughes writes us as a prayer and a pledge of responsibility to our children. Whatever your belief is, you and I as educators are involved in a sacred trust. Millions of parents are already getting the thoughts together on sending their children back to you and I. And every one of us and every one of our administrators is working diligently. How will we receive these children? Can we receive them along CDC guidelines and social distancing and masks and be with them live and in person? And what will we look like with our mask and possibly even a face shield for safety? Because you are important. You are an essential worker. In my life, the most essential workers. Remember, my mom was a kindergarten teacher for 37 years. She was my kindergarten teacher. And she taught me all the things that are in that prayer. And in that prayer are children and families who are coming back to school. And all of them, every one of them, every adult and every child is coming out of 5 and maybe when school begins 6 months of trauma. Grief and loss and illness, and possibly for many of them death in their family, and stress and anxiety and depression. The phone calls I've gotten the past 2 weeks from adults and educators and students, I've never heard so much anxiety, and it's valid, and it needs to be addressed. And the concerns for diversity and equity and social justice. We have come out of a time period like I've never seen since 1968, when as a young man, I began to participate in social justice and the civil rights movement. And I hope we continue. Remember your children, since the news is 24/7 and the news is on every device. Your children are seeing death, murder, hatred. And I swallow hard and I pause. And I am aware it takes immense courage for you and I to speak our truth and address the needs of our children and our families and address the needs of each other. We must first and foremost take care of the health, well-being, and social emotional needs of the adult educator, the staff member, the counselor, the teacher, special education, coaches, aides, secretaries, custodians, administrators, superintendents. Everybody who's carrying children and families and whole communities on their shoulders right now. And you know we are in desperate need of leadership, and you are the leaders. Some of you, like myself, are comfortable with prayer, and you've prayed, God, please send me an answer. please know God listened. He sent an answer. He sent you. So where do we begin? We begin as we always do. We begin with the human element. We begin with social emotional learning. And we begin with the model that has served myself and my colleagues well, has served our schools well, and it's served all that come in contact with it well. The collaborative for academic, social, emotional learning brings us these 5 competencies. They never really put them in priority, but I do. We start with self-awareness. We must take a moment to reflect. We must be mindful. So what is self-awareness? From the data, the ability to accurately recognize my own emotions, my thoughts, my values, and how they influence my behavior. So know that that takes mindfulness. That takes self-reflection time. That takes taking a breath and stepping back and thinking and knowing that we need to help our children do that. Self-awareness, the ability to accurately assess one's strengths and limitations with a well-grounded sense of confidence, optimism, and growth mindset. So much of what we're doing every day in education now is grounded in self-awareness. Identifying my emotions, slowing down. Please, when the school year opens, don't go back and open up the curriculum. Allow students to reconnect with themselves. Help them understand who they are. Help them identify how they see the world and how they see themselves. Accurate self-perception. What does that mean? It means doing some assessment work. What are my strengths? Helping them develop an assessment tool with your help and guidance and mentoring. Where are my strengths? For me, they're in language arts and history and communication. For me, they're not in math and science. They never will. They never were. But help your children do that. And the areas that they're thriving, help them thrive and celebrate that. And the areas that they need assistance, you will assist them because you always have. Please remember, every good, caring teacher has always been engaged and involved in social emotional learning. Don't see this as one more thing. It's not. It is the thing. It's the essential thing. Knowing that human beings teach human beings. It's human teaching for human learning. We can never separate that, and we never should separate that. So how do we help them identify strengths? Well, I would recommend looking at Martin Seligman's work, Dr. Martin Seligman from the University of Pennsylvania, who in his many, many books, my favorite is Authentic Happiness. Another book he follows up with Flourish. Looking at our character strengths. I'd recommend the VIA Character Strength Survey, which is free. My graduate students take it. My staff takes it. We dialogue about it. You certainly can do that with your students from 4th grade on up. And explore deeply the character strengths. You can build an entire school year on those character strengths, identifying one a month. Or you can take a different view. You can look at the work in Core Values from Dr. Brené Brown. She is one of my favorites, and all of her work is steeped in research. You have to work really hard to deny the truths that she is revealing to us about humanity. Her work is so outstanding and so real and so authentic. The latest book is entitled Dare to Lead. I recommend you read it. You'll find the work in core values and her assessment tools in that book. It's very accessible, but I recommend every one of her books to my graduate students. They're outstanding. And they give us beautiful time for looking at ourselves as the adult educator as well. So we need to help ourselves and help our children identify their strengths and build confidence. So confidence comes from baby step to baby step to baby step. I become confident when I learn I can do something. Growth mindset. I might not be able to do it today, but I can work again and practice, practice, practice. Practice does not make perfect. That's a fallacy. Practice makes progress. And what a beautiful goal that would be. Knowing that I can speak for myself. I can stand up for myself. I can stand up for my truth. I can do that with confidence. I can do it with clarity. I can do it with kindness and respect. Self-efficacy is essential today. Teaching our children how to speak their truth. So as you pause, self-awareness to begin the school year, what are some possible activities that are tried and true for you? How do you help your children get to know who they are and get to know each other? As we gain some level of mastery in self-awareness, knowing that that's a major task in the first day to week of our school setting, we also begin to move into self-management. And for me, this time period, this first week of school, helping our children with self-management not only is focused on helping them individually, but it's also setting boundaries, core beliefs, codes of conduct. How will we agree to live together in this school setting? Whether that is in person, hybrid, or virtual. We are a group of people. We are a community. We are a classroom community. We are a school community. How will we live together? For almost 35 years, if not longer, I and my friends have been using something called the full value contract. A contract between human beings, a contract between individuals, an agreement. Signed sometimes, but certainly a verbal agreement. 4 simple pieces, short and simple. It's important so we can keep reinforcing and reflecting throughout the school year. First is we agree to be physically safe. And that's so important today. You know, before the virus, physical safety meant safety on the playground, safety with our physical bodies, never harming anybody, never hurting anyone, never getting in someone's physical space. Now, it means wearing a mask. For teachers, it may mean wearing a face shield. It means coughing into your elbow. It means washing your hands for 20 seconds. A couple versions of happy birthday. It means staying 6 feet apart. And we do all those things because those are clear statements of responsibility and respect and self-management, not only for myself, but for everyone else. That's what good, caring human beings do. We protect each other. It's critically important today. So physical safety, number 1. emotional safety, putting people up with our language, celebrating each other, acknowledging each other, affirming each other, and making those daily lessons and teaching that because we do it and practice it in our staff meetings, and we do it and practice it in our team meetings and with our administrators. And every adult interaction allows that opportunity, and then we teach it to our children. Physical safety, emotional safety, and then giving and receiving honest feedback. Feedback is often mistaken for evaluation. No, I am not talking about evaluation now. That's later on in our work today. Feedback is specific, descriptive, observable information about where you and I are together on a shared task. Specific, descriptive, observable, behavioral information. And we share feedback, and we listen, and we assess. And isn't that critically important today? Black Lives Matter and the social justice movement are reminding us that it's time to listen to the feedback of others. It's time to manage my impulses, help our children manage their impulses, help manage our stress. The data and the theory on self-management says the ability to successfully regulate one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors in different situations. Oh, my dear friends, isn't this a different situation? This is as different as it gets in school. And then we leave school to go out into the world, and we have significant issues of social justice we all must address. So this is a different situation. We need to effectively manage our stress, control our impulses, and motivate ourselves. The ability to set and work toward personal and academic goals. Let's talk about stress for a minute. If we were in a wellness class together, I would talk about the 3 phases of stress. The first phase is the event itself. Boom, something happens. Remember the first time you heard about the coronavirus, what was your response? Remember now, as you're hearing about hundreds of thousands of cases, what's your response? For many of my dear friends, it's anxiety. For other friends, it's signing up for another commitment. For other friends, it's stunned sadness. That's the first phase. That's the event. The second phase is my appraisal or my response to that event. And we just mentioned so many different responses. And lastly, your body will react. For me, stress goes right to the weak spots in my body, my back pain, my lower back, my hip pain. Whenever I'm stressed, I feel it in my body. Your children feel it. Talk with your nurses, please. Talk with your counselors. Help your children understand that event that happens that triggers them. What's that triggering event? Then what is the response that they have? Often it's an emotional response, which is very appropriate. It's very normal. And then the body has some connection to this. We can help them work through those processes to gain some balance and some quiet. For me, I love this statement. I don't remember where it came from. I don't think it's mine. It takes no outside stress event, but the mere perception of unpredictability, lack of control or lack of outlets for frustration to create the stress response. In other words, nothing even has to happen. We just need to think something might happen. We just need to imagine something might happen. That's how powerful our brains are. Oh, and we have so much fear right now, so much challenge right now. In 12-step programs, we look at fear as an acronym. False expectations appear real. Certainly some things are very, very real right now. But I know for me, after I've spoken for a long time, later that night or next day, my throat will hurt. And right now, I'll worry, oh my gosh, sore throat, sign of coronavirus. But now I've learned to calm and drink plenty of water and get enough rest. And within 48 hours, my throat's back to normal. So we need to be aware of what's real and what's our fear. And if we are afraid, we talk to someone. If we're afraid, we go into our mindfulness practice and meditate. We pray, we reflect. We take a walk. We get some exercise. We call our therapist, we call our counselor. And we recommend our children do all of those things. And we help and lead and mentor and coach our children through all those responses. So the last piece I want to share with you, stress is, now we know, stress is not what happens to us, it's how we respond to what happens to us. And very, very long time ago, I think it was 1972, I was reading some work by Dr. Jack Canfield, and I saw these letters, and they appeared to be a formula. It said E plus R equals O. And I wonder, what can that mean? And Dr. Canfield goes on to write, E are the events of life. Stuff happens. And boy, isn't it happening now, my friends. Stuff happens. Every day, stuff is happening. However, we can't control any of that. We cannot control the virus. We cannot control someone else's hatred. We cannot control the response to hatred. But now we have that addition sign, right? Events plus R. What's R? Responsibility. The ability to respond in whatever life throws at us. Now, that's what I can control. I can control my response. My response to the coronavirus has been to be very careful. I have a special needs daughter who's medically fragile. We're blessed that she lives with us. She is developmentally 2 months old, has major lung and breathing issues, needs treatments multiple times a day. So I've been locked down. I join you this way. I work this way now, virtually. And when I feel safe, I will go out into the world and I will wear my mask as I do right now when I take a walk in the neighborhood. But other than that, we get food delivered and we make the best of it. And sure, I was stressed to begin with, but now this is our new norm. And I'm alive and I'm well and my family's alive and they're well. And I take these precautions because I care about you. And I care about me. We care about each other. The ability to respond in whatever life gives us. Black Lives Matter. In the late 60s and early 70s, I was involved in protests and social justice. And in college, I led some of those. But today, I'd rather do it intellectually. I'd rather do it emotionally and socially. I'd rather share my truth and my vision and my core beliefs with you. I'd rather speak up. And I'd rather stand up in my truth. And I'd rather offer any leadership and mentoring and coaching I can. And I'm happy to speak my courage. And I'm happy to offer my love and support. Each one of us needs to assess how we will address social justice in our classrooms and our children's lives today, because it is in every child's life. E plus R equals O, the ultimate outcome. So the events of life we cannot control. Our response, our responsibility, we can control, which gives us the ultimate outcome. I find that once I respond, my stress level dissipates. And within the challenges and the skills of self-management, we're teaching our children to set goals. We're teaching our children motivation, self-motivation. I like Dr. Edward Deci in his self-motivation theory, helping our children set goals and planning to move ahead and achieve those goals. We need to tap into intrinsic motivation. So external motivation, external rewards, we know they work for short-term projects. So things that have to get done. If I have to dig a ditch and I know you're going to give me a paycheck, or you're going to give me a refreshing drink, or you're going to give me a snack, I'll dig the ditch. I'm getting a reward for it. But for learning, I need to tap into something deeper. I need to tap into intrinsic motivation. We need to find out what children love. We need to find out their strengths, their talents, how to engage them, how to connect with them. We need to know our children, and we need to know their lives, and we need to know their loves. So what is it that we can connect to with each of our different learners? And that takes time. And once again, that's why we focus on the social and emotional and the connection and the relationship and the classroom community building in that first day and week of school. We're going to continue it throughout the school year, but that's our primary curriculum as we begin. As we move from self-awareness and self-management, which are our internal social emotional learning competencies, we then start to move externally to the next competency, which is social awareness. And so important today. Social awareness says to take the perspective of others and to be empathetic with others, to genuinely care about our fellow human beings, all of our fellow human beings, no matter what they look like, no matter what they sound like, no matter how they may be dressed. Deep in here, we are the same. Please allow yourself to become known to your students, to let your students become known to you, and to see each other's worldview, to see each other's perspective, the ability to understand social and ethical norms for behavior, and to recognize family, school, and community resources and supports. First of all, perspective taking. Is the world a place that you want to be a part of? Is the world a place that you feel safe in? The famous, brilliant poet, Mexican poet Octavio Paz says the world is not as it is. The world is as I see it. You see, there is no objectivity. Objectivity is a fallacy. Everything is subjective, everything is personal, and every child in our classroom and every staff member in our building has their unique perspective and insight into the world. We each have our unique worldview. And let's begin this school year by allowing us to share our worldview. What do we share that inspires us about this world? What do we share that scares us about this world? And my brilliant early elementary teachers, when you sit your little ones in that morning meeting circle, socially distanced apart, or you sit in a morning meeting virtually, ask them, what's something that made them feel good this past week? And ask them, what's something that frightened them this past week? And as you get into the middle school and high school years, they're ready. Oh my goodness, they're ready for deep conversation. And they need you. Please remember, teachers, kindergarten through 12th grade, they need you. They miss you so much. They miss the connection. They miss the relationship, the mentoring, the coaching, the leadership. They miss your perspective. They miss your teaching. So it's time to share. It's time to share our social awareness, and it's time to focus on empathy. Remember, empathy is the willingness to feel what another human being is feeling. We move into understanding. When I listen to my black and brown brothers and sisters, I listen to their perspective, and I listen to what they need to tell me. And I listened so diligently to their worldview. My dear, dear friends, we have to tap into what we know to be truth. There is a primatologist, his name is Franz de Waal, and he wrote a book called The Age of Empathy. It's only a few years old. And in one chapter, he talks about bonobos. They're small monkeys. And bonobos are so kind and so loving. So in the bonobo world, a grape, a little tiny grape, is a real major treat. You know, it's sweet. It's not chocolate, but it's to a bonobo, a grape's a big deal. It's a big dessert. So if I give one bonobo a grape and I do not give a grape to the other, the first bonobo who got the grape will not eat their grape till the brother-sister bonobo got the grape. Empathy. Now we have evolved, or we have supposedly evolved, into being these brilliant human beings. And we are still killing each other. And we're still bullying, harassing, belittling each other. And we still hurt people that we perceive to be different than us, and we make fun of them. Let's go back to responsibility. The responsibility is ours, and the time is now. If not you, who? If not now, when? Now is our time. Now is our time. All races, all colors, all creeds, all humans. Speaking out, standing up, justice for all. We must appreciate our diversity. I love diversity. The last thing I need is my perspective. I know my perspective. I know my life. I know my worldview. I want to learn. I want to grow. I want to learn more. I want to expand. So that means I need you. I need to know about your life, your background. I want to know what you love. I want to know what you believe in. Appreciation of diversity and respect for all. And then social awareness continues to lead us, what I believe to be deeper into extending ourselves, and that's relationship skills. The ability to establish and maintain healthy and rewarding relationships with diverse individuals and groups. The ability to communicate clearly, listen well, cooperate with others, resist inappropriate social pressure, negotiate conflict constructively, and seek and offer help when needed. Well, first, it's communication, and the emphasis must be on listening. I have 2 of these and only 1 of these. There's a clue. I'm supposed to use these 50% more. But I find that in our country, we love to talk. When I'm on a phone with somebody, I work really hard to listen to them first. When my friends ask me, when we go visit a new school district to talk to a superintendent or an administrator, what are we going to bring them? And I say, we're going to listen. We're going to listen first. We're going to listen a long time. We're going to listen to what they need. We're going to listen to their strengths. We're going to listen to how we can help them. And then we're going to dialogue together. And then we're going to come up with a plan together. So listening is essential in the communication process. Social engagement, teamwork, building a classroom community. This is over the course of my 48 years and still today, teaching master's degree students. This is my favorite topic. From day one throughout the school year, how do you build community? First, you recognize that it's never done, and you do it day by day and week by week in your morning meeting, in your advisory groups, in your extended homerooms, and in every classroom, there must be an aspect of human interaction. There must be an aspect that we recognize and make explicit the social emotional. Those things need to happen, and they need to be a priority. And when we can, we weave them within our curricular content. Certainly very achievable in language arts and social studies, but I'm finding more and more achievable in the science courses and in the math programs. Everything has feelings because human beings are teaching and human beings are learning. All we need to do is make explicit how folks are feeling and thinking about certain subjects and helping them sort through those thoughts and feelings. The last piece that we come to is responsible decision making. Understand, I cannot be a responsible decision maker until first I am self-aware. Then I have some degree of skills in managing my emotions and impulses. I have an awareness of the society around me, social awareness. I care about folks. I want to build friendships, healthy relationships. And then when I have those 4 working and effective, not perfect, but effective Then I can be successful with responsible decision making. And again, right out of the Castle literature, responsible decision making is the ability to make constructive choices about personal behavior and social interactions based on ethical standards. There's that word again, ethical standards, safety concerns, and social norms. The realistic evaluation of consequences of various actions and a consideration of the well-being of oneself and others. Wow, listen to that. First, it takes us into something that really is the scientific method. Identify a problem, analyze the situation, solve the problem, evaluate what you've just done, reflect, and assess, am I working ethically? Am I responding ethically? Is everything I'm doing ethically? But remember, they brought this into the context of our society. The consideration of the well-being of oneself and others. Here we are exactly in that situation. Whether it be the coronavirus and how we're going back to school, or whether it be social justice issues, the consideration and well-being of oneself and others. That's school. That's education. That's teaching and learning. That's in loco parentis. From doorstep to doorstep, bus stop to bus stop, we act as every single child's parent to maintain their health, safety, and well-being. That's job number one. That's the sacred trust that you and I committed to. That's the sacred trust that you and I signed on for as educators. So as we begin to wind down our time together, focusing on the 5 social emotional learning competencies to move our way back into school, know that when we do this, the research tells us we are absolutely doing the right thing. So what do we know? When we integrate the social and emotional competencies with our academic content, not separate but integrated, what do we get? First and foremost, when we integrate, capacity for learning rises. What does that mean? Well, I have 3 brains, right? My reptilian brain, fight and flight, that's been operating overtime the past 5-6 months. My mammalian brain, feed me. Let me take a nap. Parents have been balancing that out, trying to work from home, taking care of their children. Teachers are doing that. Until those 2 issues are met, my basic human needs, reptilian brain, mammalian brain, I cannot fully access my neocortex, my higher order analytical thinking brain. If I don't feel safe, I will not be an effective learner. If my basic needs are not taken care of, I will not be an effective learner. The higher order analytical thinking adult brain thrives on play. And if that word is uncomfortable for some people, then call it full engagement. So what I'm seeing from countries across the world right now who have already opened school, they're doing a lot of school outside, a lot of outside classroom, a lot of play. And you can easily social distance outside. So remember, we don't have to be inside of school to be in school. Let's get outside. Play, problem solving, creativity. Those are the pieces that grow our neocortex. So my capacity for learning goes up. My mastery of subject material goes up. When you integrate the social emotional, I will be more engaged in the content. My motivation to learn goes up. We talked about motivation theory earlier today. When I'm involved in that intrinsic learning, I love this subject, whatever it might be, and you and I connect on a personal level, now I'm going to thrive. My commitment to school goes up. That means better attendance. And my time devoted to schoolwork goes up. I want to do homework. I want to be fully engaged. I want to give you my best. Where are the other improvements? Attendance goes up, we mentioned. Graduation rates go up. Children are more successful. And prospects for constructive employment go up. So when we think about our work world, when we think about getting children ready for work and for the environment outside of school, we know that all of those skills, those ready for work skills, are all social emotional. The only one that's not might be technology, but business and industry can take care of that in a couple of weeks. The social emotional, we need to prepare our children for the diverse workforce. We need to prepare our children for respecting everyone and listening to different ideas and coming together as a team, because we need teams today. Nothing is accomplished by single individuals. We know that the things that concern us decrease when we integrate the social emotional. Suspensions decrease, expulsions decrease, and grade retentions decrease. So, my dear friends, social emotional learning integrated into our content, social emotional learning the priority the first day, the first week of school, and finding a vehicle socially and emotionally to connect with our children in whatever is your comfort level. Letting yourself be known, letting your children open their life up to you. You're making a difference every day, my friend. Every single day. I am reminded of that old story that my uncle used to tell me about a fisherman who was on a beach one day. He was fishing off the beach, off in the surf. And a young man he noticed was gathering things up from the beach and he was throwing them into the ocean. And the fisherman went up to the young man and said, "What are you doing?" And the young man said, "Well, these things are alive right now. The tide has brought them in. There's all types of shellfish here. If I can get them back into the water, they'll stay alive." And the fisherman looked and said, Are you kidding me? Don't you see there are millions of miles of beach? And there are millions of these living sea creatures? Do you really think you can make a difference? And it just so happened that the young man had a starfish in his hands. And he gently placed the starfish back into the ocean. And he turned and he said, "It made a difference for that one." So once again, as we start this school year, there we are. There are millions of schools. There are millions of children. And there is you. Each one of you. With your heart and your mind open and loving. Serving your children and bringing them back into life. Thank you, my friends. If we can assist you and serve you in any way, please let us know.